Peaky Blinders is set in Birmingham in the 1920s, but Adolf Hitler's World War II bombing and subsequent redevelopment have left so little of that era standing, the series producers had to search elsewhere to recreate the period. The Black Country Living Museum, down the road in Dudley, provided a one-stop shop for much of what they were looking for, and many scenes in Peaky Blinders were filmed here. The museum's Victorian back-to-back houses were used for a number of atmospheric period scenes, including Tommy Shelby's walk through the back alleys to meet his Irish handlers in Series 2. St James School was the setting for the dramatic finale of Series 3. We see Michael arriving by car outside the school before going inside to kill the despicable Father Hughes. The museum's boat dock and canal arm were the setting for many scenes in the series. Despite the addition of computer-generated images, they will easily be recognisable to viewers of the show. The boat dock was Charlie Strong's scrap metal yard, which features regularly in Series 1. Charlie Strong was a real person and a friend of Stephen Knight's grandfather. The Peaky Blinders creator clearly remembers visiting the yard and seeing everyone sitting around the fire, a vision he recreates in his TV drama. This was also where Tommy faked the shooting of Danny Whizbang, and from where Uncle Charlie embarks on the boat trip to London with an injured Tommy. Anchorforge was the location of many Peaky Blinder gatherings, including the tea party scene to celebrate Arthur's announcement that he's to become a father. You might recognise the Canal Street Bridge as the place where Ada and Freddie meet in secret and come back to after their wedding. Factory Junction Lifting Bridge can be seen in the background of a number of episodes, including the scene of Tommy welcoming the tunnellers. And who can forget the iconic image of Tommy walking past the foundry furnaces? The setting for this shot was the museum's rolling mill. The Black Country Living Museum was so important in the production of the show, Stephen Knight called it the home of Peaky Blinders, and the museum has certainly made the most of its unique connection with the TV series. It stages Peaky Blinder-themed evenings, has a Peaky Blinder location tour, and sells a range of Peaky Blinder clothes in its gift shop. But not even the Black Country Museum could provide all of the film locations, and the producers cast their net a little further afield. By Series 3, Tommy Shelby has gone up in the world and left the rough and tumble of the Birmingham streets behind. Tommy's ruthless dealings have paid off, and he's bought a handsome new home in the Warwickshire countryside called Arrow House. The Grand Mansion, that has Arthur complaining he needs a map to get around, is meant to be somewhere between Birmingham and Warwick. In fact, the stately home that played the part of the Shelby mansion lies 70 miles away in Cheshire. This is Arley Hall, near Northwich, and is home to Viscount Ashbrook and his family, but for 2 months, in 2015, it was taken over by the Peaky Blinders production team. Arley was transformed into Tommy Shelby's home, complete with bespoke portraits and 1920s furniture. To the beady-eyed viewer though, Arley will be easy to spot. The library became Tommy's study. And the magnificent gallery doubled as the Shelby's dining hall, complete with a life-sized portrait of Tommy and his horse. Series 3 of Peaky Blinders opens with Tommy's wedding to Grace. The ceremony was filmed here at St Peter's Chapel at Tabley, a few miles from Arley. The rather eventful reception was staged at Arley Hall. Tommy warns the gang, no cocaine, no sucking petrol out of their cars, and no effing fighting. This is a Peaky Blinder wedding though, and the rules are soon forgotten. Champagne, gin, whiskey, and cocaine flow freely, and the men's bare-knuckle boxing in the courtyard shocks Grace's well-to-do guests. But there's worse to come, and the reception comes to a sudden, violent end when Grace is shot. With filming complete, the usual character of Arley Hall was restored, but the Peaky Blinder effect has continued. The estate has seen an increase in visitor numbers, with fans of the show eager to see where the scenes were filmed. The hall even features in a Peaky Blinders coach tour, and the show's recent success in the US on Netflix is bringing inquiries from American fans. Arley Hall might be recognisable as Arrow House, but our next film location will be more difficult to work out. Stanley Dock lies within Liverpool's World Heritage Site and contains a number of listed buildings, including the North Warehouse and the Tobacco Warehouse. Rum and tobacco imported from exotic locations were stored here in huge brick buildings, bigger than the world had ever seen, and helped establish Liverpool as the second city of the empire. The heyday of these brick giants has passed, but after standing derelict for many years, Stanley Dock has embarked on a new chapter. The North Warehouse is now the Titanic Hotel and a major new conference and exhibition centre. The old Tobacco Warehouse, meanwhile, is enjoying a film career. It was used as a film set in the TV adaptation of The Ruby and the Smoke, and in the superhero movie Captain America. More recently, it was given a major temporary facelift to become Garrison Lane, the Peaky Blinders' stomping ground, and the location of the Garrison pub. This was the setting for many memorable scenes, including the tense gunfight between the Peaky Blinders and the Kimber Gang. A mile or so away is a street that might just look familiar to Peaky Blinders viewers. Rodney Street forms part of a conservation area, and more than 60 of its Georgian buildings have listed status. The street is often referred to as the Harley Street of the North because of the number of doctors that practice here. It's also the birthplace of Beatles manager Brian Epstein, who was born at number 4. Peaky Blinders fans might recognise Rodney Street as the location of Field Marshal Russell's house that was targeted by the Shelbys with a letter bomb. One of the biggest challenges for the Peaky producers was finding a suitable stand-in for Watery Lane, the Shelby family's small heath home. Finding a whole street of uninhabited terraced houses of the right period seemed a pretty impossible task. the solution came about under rather unusual circumstances. In Liverpool's Toxteth area is a group of terraced streets known as the Welsh Streets, because they were built by Welshmen. In 2010, the Welsh Streets were earmarked for demolition, and the residents were rehoused. One of the houses here, though, has a special place in the musical heritage of the city. Number 9 Maduran Street was the birthplace of Ringo Starr, and Beatles fans mounted a vigorous campaign to stop the demolition. In 2012, it was announced that the Welsh Streets would be saved. While the streets themselves remain empty and eerily quiet, Ringo's old house has become something of a shrine to Beatles fans from all over the world. The reprieve was music to the ears of the Peaky Blinders producers. Power Street was transformed into Watery Lane in the 1920s, the home ground of the Shelby boys. The fact that the houses stood empty made it a relatively straightforward makeover. The boarding over the windows was removed. The whole street was given a coat of brown paint to make it look suitably grim. Period streetlights were added, historic advertising hoardings erected, and smoke machines were set to work. Powis Street in Toxteth became Watery Lane in Birmingham's industrial heartland and the setting of many iconic scenes in Peaky Blinders. Peaky Blinders had found their Watery Lane thanks to a beetle.